Advancement of Jewish Education. And I'm also a graduate of the Institute for Jewish Spirituality's Meditation Teacher Training course. And if you're not familiar with the Institute for Jewish Spirituality, I recommend that you take a look on the web for them. They have some amazing courses, wonderful trainings for rabbis and cantors and educators and average, regular people that aren't professional Jewish titles. And they just do great work in the world. So it's great to see all of you, even if your faces are virtual, and I really look forward to the day when we're going to be seeing each other live and in person again. For the next hour, we're going to give ourselves permission to relax and breathe. And if possible, we're going to make sure, you want to make sure that you are in a space that is uninterrupted or where you can remain uninterrupted. So you silence your phone, you want to close your door. If you haven't, make sure you're in a seated posture that's upright and comfortable, where you can be relaxed and alert. And then also settle into your seat. Place your hands on your knees or in your lap or wherever is comfortable, because we're going to be starting with a nigun, a wordless melody from the Hasidic tradition. This was a way of actually centering people either before or during prayer. And the wordlessness of it, it was great because it meant that you didn't have to engage your thinking parts of your brain, the parts that are processing language. You could just go with the emotion and the secondary nature of just music. So I'm going to begin the tune, and you'll see that the tune will repeat over and over. Try to join in with me on your end, or if you prefer, you could just sit back with your eyes closed or with your eyes unfocused and looking down as you listen. So here it goes. Yai lai la 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 la. Yai lai ya lai la la. Yai lai. Yai lai ya lai la la. Yai lai la 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 la. Yai lai 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 la la. Again. Yai lai 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 la. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai. Yai lai ya lai lai lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai lai. Yai lai. Yai lai lai lai. Yai lai ya lai lai lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Transitioning to a new part. ya la la, ya la la, ya, 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 ya la la, ya la la, ya, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Ya la la, ya la la, la, ya la la, ya la la, ya la la, la, ya la, ya la la, ya la la, la, ya la la, la la la. Ya la la, ya la la, la, ya la la, ya la la, la, ya la la, You can keep your eyes closed or open as I read a reflection by my colleague, Rabbi Jill Zimmerman, called The Journey We Did Not Choose. What a journey you and I are on right now, together. We have had trips canceled, weddings postponed, jobs lost. We have had funerals over Zoom. We walk outside with masks. Not only have we removed events from our calendars, but we have also had to shed the skin we have worn until now. When this is all over, we will be new people, honed and changed by this experience of separation and new kinds of connection. This will not be a journey that ends with, quote, going back to normal. Normal will have to be rethought. As humans, when this is over, hopefully, we will emerge wiser, more self-aware, and more grateful. Perhaps essence and simplicity will have a new meaning. I don't know about you, but the journeys that have been thrust upon me and not been chosen are the times I have learned the most about myself. I have learned about strengths I didn't know I possessed. I have learned about what I could do without and what is truly essential. Traditionally, in Jewish time, the 7 weeks that follow Passover are a time of collective and individual journey. We leave the narrow place of our slavery. We walk into freedom. But it's not so simple. You remember, we complain and we argue. In the desert, challenging leadership is an everyday thing. Additionally, so much is unclear. As we cross the unknown, we swim in a sea of uncertainty, kind of like now. However, when we arrive at the foot of Mount Sinai, the place where wisdom is revealed, we unfold, we open, we receive. The seeds for a new life with vision and purpose and unity have been planted within us. This is the possibility that awaits us as we navigate the unknown. The parallels are astounding to what we are currently going through. In the ancient story, we fall down and we get back up. We have reversals. We have bad days. But if we remain awake, the opportunity of unfolding begins now. It starts by making choices today about what energy you will feed and be fed by, and by committing to the deeper path of discovering what is essential in you and to you. This is a time to refine our souls. This is when we count the Omer and mark each day with different qualities. We reflect on the journeys we have chosen in our lives, new careers, retiring, getting divorced, going back to school, as well as the journeys that were chosen for us, loss, accidents, illnesses. Our entire life is a journey, and we walk a path from awakening to thriving. Each one of us is alive at this moment in history during a global pandemic. Surely this is an unseen journey, unforeseen journey that beckons us to do soul work in a totally new way. We will explore different spiritual practices that allow us to tolerate uncertainty and help us center ourselves with dealing with grief and loss. This time is an opportunity to potentially become our best selves. A wonderful poem for right now by Pat Schneider called Instructions for the Journey. The self you leave behind is only a skin you have outgrown. Don't grieve for it. Look to the wet, raw, unfinished self, the one you are becoming. The world too sheds its skin. Politicians, cataclysms, ordinary days. It's easy to lose this tenderly unfolding moment. Look for it as if it were the first green blade after a long winter. Listen for it as if it were the first clear tone in a place where dawn is heralded by bells. And if all that fails, wash your own dishes, rinse them, stand in your kitchen at your sink, and let cold water run between your fingers. Feel it. So now, I'd like to invite all of you to take a look at the bottom of your screen and activate the chat function that you have down there that is labeled chat. And I'd like for you to write down in the chat, either to me privately or to everyone publicly, whatever you feel comfortable with, any difficulties or obstacles that you have found in practicing meditation or mindfulness. You can also write down if you have any questions or any concerns. Remember, there aren't any bad questions, never, ever, ever. Questions are a sign of engagement. Teachers love questions. So please take a moment in the chat function. Just write any difficulties you found in meditation or mindfulness, any questions or concerns, and also anything that you enjoy about it or anything that you've gotten out of practicing meditation or mindfulness. I'm going to wait for a few moments while you do that. We'll see what arises. And as you're doing that, I'm going to review the definition of mindfulness as the mindfulness part of meditation. So John Kabat-Zinn, a pioneer in the field, wrote the following definition that has been slightly adapted. Mindfulness is paying attention to something in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, non-judgmentally, with kindness, if possible. That's it. Pretty much paying attention, but in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, non-judgmentally, and if judgment arises, then with kindness applied to whatever arises. Yeah. So when I look over everybody's comments, right, this is the classic experience that every human has, right? Our heads don't stop thinking. We have difficulty focusing and are easily distracted. Right now we find that we have a lack of routine, and that makes it difficult to navigate life altogether because human beings are creatures, by and large, of routine and habits. It's hard to sustain attention, to finish up tasks, and deal with the distractedness of the mind. Some of us are bored. We just really want to do something, anything. And some of us have a hard time just slowing down, right? Just to slow it down and be able to appreciate the moment. That's so common. And I would say altogether, our minds just race. So perhaps in the next session that we have, I'll read you a little bit about some of this internal dialogue. And then really everything that we're doing right now is designed to help us at certain points in certain ways control that dialogue, be able to minimize some of that inner dialogue and gain focus, gain concentration, gain the ability to come back from distractions and to develop some sort of routines. So, you know, that's the way it works. At some future point, we might talk about the difference between mindfulness in a Jewish context versus general mindfulness. But I think a lot of it is just simply cultural. It's the touchstones that you use, the nigun rather than just a song, a reading from the Talmud rather than just a Buddhist meditation. I think a lot of mindfulness is built into Jewish tradition, but was always part of an elite group. It was a practice that was sort of contained among the elite. And then, you know, Amcha, the rest of the Jewish people, were given other things to do, mitzvot, and the usual daily routine. So now we're going to start practicing ways to stay focused. And really, it is a practice. That's why people talk about meditation as a practice. They don't just talk about it as, you know, something. They say, oh, my practice of meditation. Like you hear people speak about the practice of yoga. And that's probably a little bit of an Eastern terminology, but in any case, it's really true. It is a practice. It's not something that you just arrive at or achieve. I think perhaps if you become a tzaddik or a mystic, you might. But if you're an average person, then mindfulness is something that you're constantly practicing. So the next exercise we do is a classic of mindfulness training. And what it shows is that mindfulness is something we all know how to do, but we often forget to practice it. And this is called a raisin exercise in the classic mindfulness literature. Some of you are no doubt familiar with it, but it sort of never gets old, and you can do it with any kind. So if you haven't gotten a raisin, a nut, an M&M, another piece of dried fruit, something that you taste in the next few moments, I urge you to stand now and go into your kitchen and grab something quickly so that we do this exercise together. And it doesn't really matter what you get as long as it's relatively small. A raisin, a nut, a prune, could be a piece of cracker, anything, but you want to have it at hand. And when you get something, please bring it back, but of course, don't eat it yet. That's the whole idea here. We're going to not eat it yet. And I thought this might be a nice exercise to do since Parshat Shmini was this past Shabbat. And Shmini contains the laws of kashrut, or keeping kosher. So it's also mindful eating, thinking about what we can and can't consume according to, of course, traditional definitions. So we want to open this practice with a concept that's very important to learn and internalize and hopefully use again. So this is called beginner's mind. Beginner's mind is an attitude of doing something or experiencing something as if it is for the very first time. Beginner's mind. Think about it. Like you've never seen anything like it. It is so fascinating because you are the beginner with it. And you're just looking at it with unbelievable fascination, excitement, engagement, attention. That's what beginner's mind is. And often when we do something repetitively, we lose beginner's mind and we begin to do things on autopilot. I know that driving is that way. You know, when it used to be that way. When I would drive to the office, sometimes I'd get there and I'd be like, wow, I don't remember one single thing from that journey. It was just in another world and I was on autopilot. A lot of times when we're eating, right, it's often that way. But like anything, we can change our perspective in how we do it, either consciously or just because of the nature of circumstances. So today, if I'm driving somewhere, boy, am I paying attention to every little thing now, because it's so fascinating to be in the car. It's so rare and it's so exciting. So, a car drive now is no longer on autopilot, and eating can be the exact same thing for us, and really should. If we practice mindful eating, no doubt we will eat less and we will enjoy our food so much more. And since we do eat regularly, this could be something that is a way of just practicing mindfulness for a short period of time every single day, maybe even multiple times a day. So our goal for this exercise is to take on beginner's mind, to really imbibe that idea and internalize it. And one of the techniques in Judaism for remembering to encounter objects with beginner's mind is to say a blessing, right? Everything we eat, we're supposed to say a blessing. Almost every experience that we can have, there's a blessing for it. So blessings are the wake-up prompt to notice how precious this moment is and this object that we're dealing with is. So we take a moment to look at whatever it is that you've chosen as your food. I'm going to choose a raisin. I have a raisin right here. But whatever it is that you have, it's fine to do it with that. And look at this raisin or this object, this piece of food. A very, very long time ago, something happened in the universe that we humans call the Big Bang. And that Big Bang produced 2 trillion galaxies, according to scientists. And one of those 2 trillion galaxies, which is our galaxy, and it's estimated to contain somewhere between 100 to 400 billion stars and more than 100 billion planets. And in the vastness of this Milky Way star solar system, which contains one large star known as the Sun and 8 planets, of which one is called Earth. And of all the planets in our solar system, only Earth happens to contain the very specific conditions necessary to sustain human, animal, and plant life. It's due to all these conditions stretching back all the way, and to the farmers who learned to cultivate the plant life. Here we are able to hold this piece of food in our hands right now. We can say the blessing Borei Pri Ha'etz, Baruch Adonai, Eloheinu Melech Ha'olam, Borei Pri Ha'etz. Thank you, Adonai, our God, the ruler of time and space and the hidden nature of the world, creator of the fruit that grows on trees, bushes, and vines. Now we could eat. If you have a peanut, it's Borei Pri Hama. If you have something else like candy, it's Shahakol Nia Bidvaro. But all of these blessing, however you recite it, is still wonderful. So we're going to use the raisination from a book by Mark Williams and Danny Penman called Mindfulness, an 8-week plan. And as you'll see, they break the process down to 8 sections or stages. So again, you want to have a little piece of something with you. And now we're going to do this mindful eating exercise again in a little bit of a different way. So take one of the pieces of food that you chose and hold it in the palm of your hand or between your fingers and your thumb and focus on it. Approach it as if you have never seen anything like it before. Feel the weight of it in your hand. See if it casts a shadow on your palm. And now, take the time to really see it. Imagine you've never seen this before, right? Like going to a foreign country where they serve you something and you're just staring at it, trying to figure out what it is. Never seen anything like this before. How interesting. Let your eyes explore every part of it. You might hold it up to the light in the room, sort of see different things. You know, one of the things I've never noticed is that a golden raisin is actually kind of see-through. And see where the light shines. And see where there are the dark hollows, the folds, the ridges, the shape. Turn the raisin over or whatever you're holding in your fingers, right? Explore the texture of it. Have we ever to really feel the texture of an object, especially something we're about to eat? Usually we just throw it on a plate and eat it. To roll it around between your forefinger and your thumb. Now we go on to smelling. Hold it beneath your nose. See if you notice any smell. Some things are very, very fragrant. Some things have very slight fragrance. Something is hard to smell at all. Have a scent. Let it fill your awareness. And if there's no scent, then you note that as well. And now, getting to the point of eating, but we're going to slow down that process radically. We're going to slowly take the object to your lips and notice how your hand and arm know exactly where to put it, right? And then gently place it in your mouth and notice what the tongue does to receive it. Without biting down, simply explore the sensations of having it on your tongue. Explore the object with your tongue. Roll it around. Take time to feel it encountering different parts of your mouth, your teeth, your gums, under your tongue, over your tongue, the roof of your mouth. And you're starting to feel a little bit of the taste, but not so much, depending on the object that you have in your mouth. And now consciously take only one bite. And notice what happened to the object. Notice how it feels in your mouth. Notice any tastes it releases. Now try again. Feel the texture as your teeth bite into it. And then very, very slowly chew it, but don't swallow it yet. Keep noticing each of the sensations that you're feeling in your mouth. You could focus on the sensation of taste. You could focus on the sensation of touch, your tongue touching the object, your teeth touching the object, and how the object may taste differently when it's placed at the tip of your tongue, the side of your tongue, the center of your tongue, the back of your tongue. Each place has different receptors for different types of taste So it should taste a little different in each of those spots. Now see if you can detect, and maybe you've already had, an urge to swallow. It's just an urge. You don't have to give in to every urge you feel. That's one of the things that meditation can teach you, mindfulness, that when you're paying attention, you realize that you're doing things automatically. You don't have to. A lot of times, if you just wait, what you find in meditation and mindfulness is that whatever it is that your urge is, will, in a short period of time, disappear, go away if you don't focus on it. And that's something worth thinking about. Okay. Now, notice what the tongue is doing to prepare for swallowing. And when you're ready, when you decide, go ahead and swallow. See if you can follow the sensations of swallowing the object. And if you can, consciously sense it as it moves down the back of your throat towards your stomach. And sometimes you might notice if it's got little pieces, a second or even a third swallow, until the object's all gone. Notice what the tongue does after you've swallowed. And finally, spend a few moments registering the aftermath of the eating. Is there an aftertaste? What does the absence of the raisin feel like? Is there an automatic tendency to look for more or take more? So again, I'm going to ask for you all to take a moment and go to the chat function and just write down one thing that you noticed. One thing. Could be something that you enjoyed, something that was frustrating, something that you didn't like, whatever it is that comes to mind, just share it, right? That's the idea. Just share it. So let's see what people think. You know, it could be something that you learned. Some small exercise like this, we learn things. You know, I learned every single time I've done this exercise, I think to myself, oh, I just take a handful, put them in my mouth. I never taste them individually. Then again, when I think about thin people, they taste things individually. So that might be a big message. So what are some of the things that you've learned? Or what did you like about the exercise? What didn't you like about the exercise? How is this different from the way you normally eat? Right? So most people tend to eat on autopilot, as we mentioned. But autopilot is the opposite of being mindful, right? So we taste things differently when we don't do it on autopilot. What changes when you eat this way? Well, it got a little bit sweeter with each chew, someone wrote. And that means that you slow down and you pay attention with all your senses. It's so pleasurable, you know? One raisin really is like actually so good. And you really note the seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, all those senses are engaged in a way that we don't usually when we eat. You know, where was our attention when we did the exercise? Well, you know, if you're really concentrated on something, right? When I was looking at that raisin as if it was the most fascinating thing in the world, right? The worrying mind, the distracted mind, hopefully recedes for just a little moment and gives us a bit of relief. So that's one of the reasons to be doing things with mindfulness, if only for a moment, right? And it teaches us, yes, to be able to exercise restraint. It shows us that it's sometimes hard to keep from swallowing. We're so used to just chewing a couple times and then boom, swallowing it. Wrote that focusing on the process is so relaxing once they kind of got into the rhythm of it, Another person wrote, hey, mindful eating is what separates us from animals. That's exactly what the rabbis talk about in literature all the time. It's one of the reasons the blessing just slows us down. It makes us conscious. It gives us choice, which is a human thing. And we don't just dive onto our food. We notice how our saliva gradually dissolved things, how difficult it was to hold it and not swallow, right? And how something sometimes, an item refers to it in interesting. And by the way, if it was difficult to get off autopilot and just doing things by rote, that's normal. It's taking practice. It's really something that I would say later today, you just did this, so it's fresh in your mind. Later today, when you go to eat lunch later or dinner later, take one thing on your plate and decide to be mindful about the way you eat it. Just one. That's the I can achieve this idea. Or if you're a more experienced practitioner, decide to do it for the whole meal, like really chewing. Some of you might find, just like with breathing, that counting your breaths, just like counting chewing, can sometimes help to prolong your focus on what we're doing. So just keep that in mind. And we'll discover a lot about ourselves, right? So it's interesting, Becky just wrote to everybody, when I drink wine, I linger and I enjoy every aspect. And that way we've been taught to drink wine, actually. I mean, if we were drinking like this, swilling it down, that's not an elevated way of appreciating a really good, wonderful, fragrant bottle of wine. But when we eat, we tend to not necessarily eat the same way we're drinking and luxuriating over that wine. So if we can take that concept that this is luxurious eating, really feeding our souls, not just feeding our body, then we slow it down and we really appreciate everything about the food experience. And now that we've done a little bit of mindful eating, we can do a little bit of mindful breathing. It's very, very similar. It's just about slowing it down and paying attention, trying to get into the zone of focus. So some of you have already done mindfulness breathing practice or meditation. For some of you, it may be new. And we're going to sit for about 7-8 minutes and concentrate on finding the way we breathe, just as fascinating as the object that we just ate. So I'm going to give you a couple of different possible ways to focus on breathing. Now, if you can, then you just see your breath as the most fascinating thing ever, meaning as you breathe in, you feel it going through your nostrils, or you feel it coming down your throat or going into your chest, and your belly expand and contract. All of these different aspects are things that you can focus on to keep your attention while meditating. So that's one possibility. Another possibility is counting. You can count a breath in for 4 counts and breath out 6 to 8. By doing so, you will slow down your breathing, you'll mellow out your parasympathetic nervous system, and your whole body will become more calm. When you in 4, breathe out 6 to 8, right? So one is a fuller, deeper, quicker in-breath, and then a slower, longer out-breath. Or you can simply just count, 1 in, 1 out, 2 in, 2 out. Any of these things are designed to keep you focused. Last time we did Hineni and Todah. I am present and thank you, right? Any of those. Choose one. Doesn't really matter which one you choose, but this is what you're going to do to find something that is most comfortable for you to keeping your attention. Now, remember, your mind will wander. Everyone's mind wanders. So when your mind wanders, do you remember what we've talked about last time and in times past? There's a voice you want to speak to yourself with. It's a voice of kindness, lack of judgment. You want to say to yourself, oops, sweetheart, let that thought go and return to your breathing, right? Sweetheart, oh, let that thought pass through, let it go, come back to breathing, just in that tone of voice. So now let's get comfortable in our seats. If you're comfortable closing your eyes, do so. Lower your gaze and make sure it's unfocused. Now check in with your body. This is a way to also concentrate. When you concentrate on your body, it's much easier to get out of your mind. Feel the clothing on your body. Feel how and where it touches different parts of your body. Feel your feet on the ground or wherever your feet are resting, on your sandals, your shoes. Feel your legs, your butt and your back touching the chair that you're in. Remember, every time you lose yourself in your mind, focusing on the physical feeling in your body will move you away from that endlessly looping inner dialogue and ground you in your body. And we are going to then be meditating and breathing for a few moments. And we will do this for about 5 minutes right now, 5 to 7 minutes. Go. 2 more minutes. Remember to re-engage with beginner's mind.
So now we're going to open up our eyes and welcome ourselves back. Rabbi Efrat's power went out, so I am going to end our meditation series today with just a moment as we allow ourselves to breathe in, Hineni, and breathe out, Todah. Here we are present, allowing ourselves the gift of being soulfully connected and present. And then we exhale, Todah, with gratitude as we enter the rest of our day in the spirit of gratefulness. So we breathe in, Hineni. Exhale, Todah. Hineni. Todah. Hineni. Todah. I wish you only good things for the rest of the day. May you enter it with the spirit of gratitude and congratulate yourself by giving yourself the gift of being fully present and mindfully open to connecting with body and soul. We'll see you all next Monday at 11 a.m. Have a wonderful rest of the day.